It started with an old leather-bound diary. I found it at an antique shop downtown, buried beneath a pile of forgotten trinkets and yellowed books. The shopkeeper barely spared me a glance as I picked it up, brushing dust off its cracked cover. There was no title, no name, just a heavy clasp, keeping its pages shut. Something about it called to me. "That one's been here for as long as I can remember," the shopkeeper muttered when I asked about it. "Strange little thing. Nobody ever buys it. I should have left it there." Instead, I paid for it and tucked it into my bag, excited by the thought of uncovering something hidden within its pages. That night, I sat at my desk, carefully prying the clasp open. The scent of aged paper filled my nostrils as I turned the first page. And that's when I saw it. The first entry wasn't written in ink. It was scrawled in something dark, something dried and cracked with time. The letters were jagged, hurried, desperate. "If you are reading this, it's too late." A chill crept up my spine. My fingers hovered over the page, hesitant to turn it, but something inside me urged me forward. The next entry was dated over 100 years ago. The words blurred together in rushed handwriting. "It follows me, always watching, waiting. It knows I found this diary. I thought I could use it to trap it, but I was wrong. If you are reading this, do not speak of it. Do not write its name. Do not think of it too long." I swallowed hard. The air in my room felt suddenly heavy, pressing in on me from all sides. My lamp flickered. I turned the page. More entries followed, each growing more frantic, more unhinged. They spoke of shadows that moved when no one was looking, whispers in the dead of night, a presence lingering just out of sight. The final entry was barely legible, the ink smudged as though written with trembling hands. It's inside now. I can feel it breathing. If I finish this sentence, it will know. It will... The writing cut off abruptly, a streak of ink dragging across the page. I slammed the diary shut. The silence in my room was deafening. I turned, half expecting to see something lurking in the corner. My heart pounded against my ribs. It was just a story, just the ramblings of someone long dead, wasn't it? Then the whisper came, soft, right against my ear. "Keep reading." I jumped from my chair, the diary slipping from my hands and landing with a heavy thud. My breath hitched as I scanned the room. Empty. The shadows were still. The air was thick, charged with something unseen. I should have thrown the diary away. I should have burned it, buried it, anything but what I did. I picked it up. My hands trembled as I reopened it, my pulse hammering in my ears. The pages seemed different now, the edges darker, brittle, as if they had aged in the few seconds they had been closed. The words blurred and shifted as I tried to focus. A new entry had appeared. "You should not have done that." My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't written that. No one had. I grabbed a pen with shaking fingers and scribbled below the message. "Who are you?" For a moment, nothing happened. The air was still, the room silent except for the distant hum of the city outside. Then, slowly, the ink began to move. "I have always been here." A sharp knock echoed through my apartment. I yelped, dropping the pen. My front door. 3 slow knocks, steady, rhythmic. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another knock. And another. I forced myself to step forward, inching toward the door. My fingers hovered over the handle before I hesitated. Something wasn't right. The knocks hadn't come from outside. They had come from inside my apartment. The light above me flickered, casting shadows that stretched unnaturally across the walls. My reflection in the mirror opposite the door didn't move with me. It stood still, staring, a faint smile curling at its lips. The diary's pages rustled behind me. I turned back to it, dreading what I might see. One final message had been scrawled across the page in jagged, violent strokes. It's too late. A breath, cold and damp, whispered against my neck, and the light went out. Darkness swallowed the room, a thick, suffocating void that made my mind play tricks on me. My breath hitched as I pressed myself against the wall, straining my ears for any sound, anything at all. The diary sat open on my desk, its last entry glowing faintly, as if the ink itself were alive. My trembling fingers reached for my phone, the blue screen flickering to life. I swiped to turn on the flashlight. A figure stood in the corner of my room, tall, still, featureless, a shifting void that seemed to drink in the light. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It just stood there, watching. Then, in the reflection of my mirror, I saw something worse. It wasn't alone. A chorus of whispers filled the air, soft, unintelligible, a low hum that resonated in my bones. The figure in the corner twitched, like a puppet pulled by unseen strings, jerking its head toward me. The light on my phone died. A cold breath touched my ear. Keep reading. I scrambled to relight my phone, my fingers fumbling over the screen. The flashlight flickered back on, but the room was empty. The corner where the figure had been was nothing but a hollow stretch of shadow. The diary's pages flipped on their own. My heartbeat pounded as I watched the ink move again, forming words that hadn't been there before. You should have stopped. I swallowed hard. My pulse was erratic, my hands clammy. I had to get out. I grabbed my keys, threw on my jacket, and bolted for the door. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob. It wouldn't turn. The door was locked, from the inside. I banged on it, panic rising in my throat. No one would hear me. My apartment was at the end of the hall. My neighbors were strangers. I was trapped. A rustling sound came from behind me. I turned slowly. The diary had moved. It now sat open on my kitchen counter, its pages flipping wildly, faster than the eye could follow. The whispering grew louder, overlapping, 1,000 voices speaking at once. My vision blurred as I stepped toward it. The pages settled. A single sentence remained. Let us in. A new sensation gripped me, something far worse than fear. Understanding. This was never just a diary. It wasn't a record of the past. It was a doorway. A crash echoed through the apartment. My mirror. It shattered, shards spilling across the floor. But there was no reflection in the fragments, only blackness, shifting and writhing. Something was coming through. My body refused to move. My muscles locked as an unseen force pressed against my chest. The voices grew deafening, filling every corner of my mind, twisting into thoughts that weren't my own. The shadows from the mirror crept forward, pooling across the floor, stretching toward me. The whispers merged into a single voice. Familiar. It was mine. Let me out. I screamed as the darkness surged forward. I woke up gasping. The apartment was silent. The diary was gone. The mirror was whole. Had it all been a dream? I rubbed my eyes, forcing my breath to slow. My body ached, every muscle sore, as if I had been fighting something in my sleep. Then I saw it. On my nightstand, the diary sat closed, its clasp locked once more. A small smear of ink stained my fingertips. I hesitated before turning to the first page. The writing had changed. It was my handwriting now. If you are reading this, it's too late. If you've enjoyed this chilling tale and want to hear more spine-tingling stories from the dark corners of the world, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay tuned for more terrifying tales, unsolved mysteries, and paranormal experiences right here on Haunted Chronicles. And remember, the darkness is never truly empty. There's always something lurking just out of sight.